I've converted a bunch of the Spider-Man characters for Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I wanted to do the same thing with their leader, Miles Morales. But this time I wanted to turn him into content. So, a few months ago, I put him on the painting handle, hoping that would motivate me to turn him into content and to get him done. And you know what? It actually worked. I had him done like a week later, but then I haven't been able to share him because he's content now. And then the strangest things started happening. I kept getting comments like this. The fuck? I'm a good person. I'm a good person.
Let's start off with the tools I'm using. I have a few different dental tools, but everything I do you could do with just one that has a rounded scoop shape on one side and a convex pokey dealy on the other. Second is a color shaper. They have these soft silicone tips to help aid with smoothing and blending the putty. I also have clippers, a cup of water, and some paper towels. We are looking to capture Miles in mid-transformation. I started with 3D printed shoes. I just grabbed them off of Thingiverse and my friend Sam printed them for me. Sam runs the longshanks.org. It's the best software for running Marvel Crisis Protocol events. After I attached the shoes, I wrapped a little bit of green stuff around the ankle gap. You could just blend this out, but I chose to sculpt socks over the gap instead. Next, we're moving on to the main part of the project, the hoodie. Now, the issue with sculpting the hoodie is that it is too big to do in one sitting, start to finish. If I were to attempt it all in one go, I would be racing against the green stuff's drying time, as well as constantly bumping the finished parts with my hand, leaving fingerprints behind. I am starting with the sleeves. The hood should have natural seams where the sleeves meet the main body, so if I don't manage to blend them into the larger hoodie, it should still look fine. I mix my putty and wrap it around the arms, and push it into place with a combination of my dental tool and color shaper. I managed to get this wind-blown sleeve look almost by accident on the bottom of the sleeve, so I decided to roll with it and not sculpt any cuffs on the hoodie. I let the putty set up for a few days and returned to do the body of the hoodie. I flatten out a piece of putty, and I wrap it under his arm so that I can start pushing it into the shape I want. I'm going for this in-motion look where the jacket is a bit flared out, but anytime you have putty just hanging in the air, it gets tricky. I push putty into all the spaces where the hoodie would either be tightly fitted to Miles, or where the wind would cause it to cling to him. I use the stiff dental tools when I'm making bigger changes, and I go back with the color shaper to dial things in. As I'm sculpting, I use clippers to remove excess putty. So much of sculpting on minis is figuring it out in the moment. You won't always grab the exact right amount of green stuff, but you can always remove some or add some if needed. So my first pass at the body left a bit of his back exposed, so I fill that in and then blend it in with the rest of his sweater. Wrapping up the body here by filling in the part of the hoodie that would be on his underside. This is probably the easiest part, since we want this part to just stick to him. is the last part of the sculpt, and I actually failed a few times at this part. I want the hood to be blowing off his head, but that is pretty difficult since it has limited contact points to push the putty against. I end up using the back of this color shaper that has a ball-shaped sculpting tool to carve out my initial shape before transplanting it back onto Miles. After moving it onto Miles, I use a hard tool to adhere it to the model and then go back with the color shaper to blend it in. With the hood attached, all that's left is to get him painted up in a quick 10-second montage. With Miles now complete, I hope that I have encouraged you to try out your own sculpting conversion. If you want to support the channel, you can do so on Patreon. I have a Discord linked below where we share our hobby projects and talk Marvel Crisis Protocol. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.